Oh, okay.
She had to sign the whole process. Okay, are we all back together here?
See?
If you walk in,
All right, we're reconvening at 8:50. And as I said, I don't have anything to add to the meeting.
I'm passing.
Yay!
Nothing to report?
Okay. So, RJ, where are you?
We just.
Okay, we're gonna just,
moving on.
Moving on.
Business agenda.
If we have any questions, maybe we can just ask them.
Yeah.
all right, we will, there she is. Okay, we're gonna move on to the business agenda, and we'll have RJ just give us a brief description under, as we reach, at admin, board, and commissions, so that we're only dealing with a few at a time, so take that away.
Just before we hit the motions, I want to mention one thing on the manager's report, which is we've got the budget workshop dates.
Oh,
Didn't want to
yes,
skim over
I'm
those.
sorry,
know
I
those were
skimmed over
interesting.
it too.
October 24th and November 7th are the same dates we had last year. So we're keeping
Thursday.
them. They're both Thursdays. We started at 6:30. Can everyone make that, or do we need to bump it back to 7?
6:30? Everybody's good with 6:30? Okay, 6:30 it is.
They will be
That's what we
advertised
advertise.
accordingly.
Okay.
All right, so on to the business agenda. Under the administration section, we have a couple things that are more routine. The one that is, I suppose, the least routine is the motion to exercise option year 1 under the current solid waste and recycling collection services agreement with Waste Management. Our current contract, it was a 5-year bid with 5 option years that have to be, exercised each year individually, built in. It's pretty much the same minimal price increase that we had the first 5 years of the contract. I just don't recommend us going out to bid this year with a lot of other things that we've got going on. I don't think that we're gonna get any significant price difference, changes, savings. There's no reason to not extend it from, my recommendation this year. Perhaps next year would be a better time once we've got a little bit of a better handle on the market with recycling and what exactly is gonna happen there with glass, different plastics, to go out to bid, or at least we hope.
So why hasn't that impacted us, the glass?
Well, so this is something that I will be talking with our account manager if we approve this in the next couple weeks. But because our contract is still going and our contract included glass and those plastics collection, it's just remained there as something that they do pick up. Now, a lot of the communities in this area switched over to Shea Cogg's joint waste management bid last year, which, caused some shuffling of drivers and some different ways the service was delivered. But also, they were all on a brand new contract, basically, that,
So if we extend this, we'll retain the glass and the recycling will stay as is until?
presumably, but that's something that we should discuss just to confirm with them.
I'm just stretching my hand, I'm sorry. I'm not, my question.
Okay, you're planning for a 5-year, then that's.
Just one more year. We have 4 more years after this that we could individually.
Yeah, all right.
Make a motion and then have a discussion.
Sure, so do you want to just do them one at a time then? Okay, then take a motion to exercise option year 1 under the current solid waste and recycling collection services agreement with Waste Management Pennsylvania.
So
moved.
Second.
All right.
Any discussion?
Yes.
You want to do all
Under this agreement, we have the option to drop the HAZ and electronic waste. My question is, how is our utilization of that aspect, 6% discount if we drop it?
I can look for some actual data on that, but I know, anecdotally, we have people calling the office a couple times a week asking how to use it. I lost it this year at home. I'm very crappy about that.
So my question, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So we can get
What raise my hand? I think if you drop that electronics and stuff that we had put on, which is an excellent thing, you're gonna find more
Dumping.
dumping going
I would
on
agree.
down on Ewing and stuff like that. I think that
Right.
that option should stay, in the contracting, so we can make that call.
Yeah, I advocated it for it in the beginning, I'm just curious how it's being utilized, and I know Public Works still has to deal with it, but, you know, if we pick up, like, the road TV that gets picked up, you know, that isn't called in, is Rob able to work with Waste Management? Are they working with us when we have to not go through the proper chain, you know, channels to, when Public Works has to get involved with things that end up places, are they working with us in the disposal of those items?
We can certainly get that information from Rob.
Just curious.
Real quick, Phil, I saw a waste management truck operating, picking up electronics just the other day when I'm out walking. The guy, they pulled up, they did like like we contracted, the people who called, they got the stuff. I talked to the driver for a couple of minutes, he said it's been doing well. So I would hate to see us lose that.
Right, but you're particularly concerned with Public Works having to pick up stuff in public
Yeah, and sort of, this is a sort of also a PSA.
Right.
We have this.
So
It's
don't
cost us
do
6%.
that.
It's costing us 6% more, please
Use it.
Yeah, I would, typically, we would refer them to contact Waste Management and say,
Right.
hey, you know.
Right,
they
but
have
we
this
do
kind of
know
Right.
that people do this, you know, and
And
I was
Rob
just,
Public Works picks up stuff, and I think your question is Waste Management working with Public Works to
right,
I
take the things that they pick up?
just add one thing to this.
Sure.
How many residents know that we have this feature?
We blast it out in our newsletter and our website
It's not on
and
the
the
website.
garbage.
So-
Okay, I'll double check on that and make sure that it gets added
If
if
you
it's
just
missing.
moved here, you didn't know that this was a feature.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I don't think we do it much.
everybody in TV land, we're paying for it, please use it,
All right,
because we're about to vote on it, so.
exactly.
For 1 year, just one.
All right, so we have a motion, a second, discussion, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, our next motion to approve the easement agreement between Annette Demmer? Demore, excuse me. Sorry, Annette. And the Borough of Crafton regarding lot number 68D265. This easement is necessary to proceed with the Johnson North Emily Sewer Repair Project.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion, questions?
Thank God.
Pardon?
Thank God we're here.
Thank God we're here.
Right. Yeah.
We made it.
It was an interesting ordeal dealing with the attorney for Ms. DeWar, but we finally got that resolved, so glad to be here.
Okay, any other questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And I do want to make just a real quick note here that because it is the middle of October and it takes about a month minimum to bid things out, it is unlikely that we will have the construction season for this project, given the time that it took to get the easement agreement signed. However,
180 days, I think I read.
we have it ready to go for next year. And, you know, of course, the funds that were budgeted for it weren't expended on it this year, so, you know, it's in the bank. The engineering's already done at this point, so.
Okay. And I do recall that Gateway did do a presentation about it in one of our previous meetings. All right, motion to adopt ordinance number 1660, authorizing the borough to enter into a temporary license and cooperative agreement with the city of Pittsburgh for the purpose of paving Ingram Avenue between Duncan Avenue and Steuben Street and apportioning the cost of same.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Haven't they, seems like they've done a lot of that already.
It is done, but this is to
The
confirm that we are
legal,
okay.
that
Beautiful.
they're
Yes.
gonna do it,
Thank
and
you.
we're gonna
Nice job.
contribute what we need to.
Thank you for
Good, yeah.
All
all
right,
the efforts.
Yeah, hey, you know what, it's exciting to
Yeah, I
to
mean,
hear
there
that
was a
people are
lot
doing
of-
it, so.
okay,
I know you had to do a lot there.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And a motion to approve pay application number 3 for the 2019 O&M sewer repairs. Contract B project to Insight Pipe Contracting Incorporated at an amount of $9,332.70 as recommended by the Borough Engineer. This will be the final payment for this project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So going on to boards and commissions, looking for a motion to accept the resignation of Ashley McCullough from her planning commission term ending April 13, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I just want to say, I mean, it's disappointing any time someone leaves. Do we have any process in place to reach out to find out more about why she's stepping down? I mean, I understand it's posted the email, and it's easy to say our busy lives. I'd love to know if there's more behind it. Do we have any sort of exit interview process or anything that reaches out to people like this?
There is not an exit interview process.
How do you feel about that?
I think that people have the right to give us what information they want. We have in the past asked for more information, and we have generally not gotten it, and people feel pressured. They have to, that's my personal opinion, that if someone is going to resign, they have every right to resign and to give us as much or as little information as they're inclined to do. But that's my personal opinion.
Any other comment?
No, I hear you. I mean, you know, from my conversation with Ashley, you know, she was, you know, dealing with competing interests, you know, busy life, you know, just also the overall, just trying to stay out of the political climate, you know, so it's really her prerogative, and it's sort of.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Motion to reappoint Mary Luxbacher to the Recreation Board for a new term ending December 31st, 2023. Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
You have a Mary Luxbar every day. I don't know what she does.
She's a hard worker. She sure is.
Such a hard one.
She very recently had knee surgery and very casually assured us she could still work the block party a couple weeks after. So, yeah.
All right. Moving on to grants. Do you want to make any comments about any of these before we
Yeah,
go
so
down these?
just real quickly, the first group of four that are all on the second page are sort of just routine affirming the community development block grant application submissions that we discussed at previous meetings, maybe the last one or two, through the COG. That is for continued repair of ADA ramps in the Steuben Street area, again, inlet replacement in the same area, and potentially, we've been told that sort of the demo money is becoming a little easier to get again, whereas it seemed to be a little difficult over the last couple of years. So 52 Baldwick is one of the handful that are sort of left from that original blight list. Most of it has been cleared, you know, aside from a couple other properties. So we are giving it a shot and applying for the demo money for that. And the fourth resolution, which is 2019-17 on here, declares that property officially as, you know, a blighted and dilapidated property, which is a requirement for submitting those grant applications. So we're in the pre-app phase. We are going to do the final application in November. This is just something that we do through the COG to sort of practicality let them know what's coming. The last two motions in this section were also included sort of in my manager's report, which I understand is truncating because it is 9:04 p.m. right now. But so we were fortunate enough to get two grow grants from Alcosan's grow program that is green revitalization of our waterways. And so the two projects that we had selected to apply for this year were the South Grandview Avenue Storm Sewer Separation and the Crafton Boulevard Storm Sewer Separation Project. I believe that the $2 million award on Crafton Boulevard is the largest one that Alcoasand has awarded under the program so far, right?
For a municipality.
Yeah.
For a borough.
For a borough. So, it's also the cap, so, you know, we pretty much, we did the moonshot and we got it on that one. So these are to affirm accepting the grant awards. Couple details about Crafton Boulevard. Obviously, it's a large project, so we are looking into with the engineers applying for, an H2O state grant. That is, if you've heard of the, small water and sewer grant, it's through DCED. That one is for sewer projects that are under $500,000. And you can match it pretty much from any source, at least a 50% match. The big brother of that is the H2O grant that requires you to have at least $500,000 of project costs. And then you can apply for that. So the due date of that is in mid-December. We're gonna be taking a shot at it to see if maybe we can cover, the rest of the cost, or at least a good portion of it for the Crafton Boulevard project. We have some time because just the permitting alone is gonna take us into about September, October of 2020. And, you know, if we don't get it this cycle, we'll just shoot for it again next year and see if maybe we can, you know.
So
really
basically what
get a
you're
good
saying
one
is
for
we're
that.
looking at a number of different grant opportunities to reduce or eliminate the borough's cost on this
Right,
project.
now that's not, this acceptance is not contingent on
Right.
being able to do that, but hey, more free money is more free money, right? So, you're gonna be seeing that application before the
Okay,
end of the year. So anyway, that's,
Right, so let's
Yep.
move through those. Motion to approve resolution 2019-14, concurring with the submission of a grant application for the ADA handicap ramps project to the CDBG Year 46 program submitted by the Char West Council of Government on behalf of the Borough of Crafton.
So,
Any discussion?
just a question with these, is the work going to happen in this construction season?
oh no, this is, we'll get awarded around this time next year if we get these particular grants. So, yeah, we're applying for them right now.
Okay, any other discussion?
So the follow-up to that, these ADA ramps, is this the Student Street issue that has been brought up a couple of times? This is not related?
That is separate, that ramp is actually out of the low middle income census tract identified in the CDBG.
And so that's moving forward.
Well,
This is a separate.
that's a separate discussion entirely, but we do have the estimate, and it can be worked into budgeting to just go ahead and do that ramp without depending on something like CDBG or a grant.
Because of the contract.
Yeah.
It was on the done before the season.
You wouldn't be able to bid it out before.
Shouldn't go through the winter then like
Yep. Hey, we could toss it to the engineers and see what they say next meeting. I mean, it can't hurt to ask, right?
That'd be wonderful.
that. Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. So we'll formalize that in the discussion very quickly. But moving back to the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to approve resolution 2019-15, concurring with the submission of a grant application for the West Steuben Inlet Replacement Catch Basin project to the CDBG Year 46 program submitted by the Char West Council of Governments on behalf of the Borough of Crafton.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to approve resolution 2019-16, concurring with the submission of a grant application for the 52 Baldwick House demolition project to the CDBG Year 46 program submitted by the Char West Council of Governments on behalf of the Borough of Crafton.
So moved.
Second.
Any
Okay,
discussion?
yeah, question, this property, along with any other older historic, not say historic, older properties, Can we call Construction Junction and see if there's anything they can salvage? Because we have that resolution from last year that we said we would try to reach out to them. And I know this is a older, four square with, the 3-layer brick and may have something they may want that could be salvaged.
Okay, so at this point, we're applying for the grant.
Right, I just
But
wanted.
as a side discussion, yes, we certainly can do that.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? or
In the grant
discussion?
application, I'm gonna bring this up in discussion anyway, but in the grant application, can we add some sort of contingency for pest remediation? We just knocked down some buildings in this borough and the neighborhoods. We're having significant issues with pests now that didn't exist prior to that.
Because they
No.
lost their habitat?
That is entirely what is
Oh,
being
my
speculated.
Uh-huh.
And so they're left on their own to try and figure out how to remediate this. They're climbing on roofs and in gutters and all sorts of things. That make your skin crawl. So if we could add into our applications, some sort of line to remediate that sort of stuff before we do it. And then we'll talk later about what we might be able to put in place for our neighborhood that.
I am not sure that they make funds available for that, but we will definitely
Sure is
ask.
worth a try.
Yes,
And barring that, we certainly
just
could.
prepare them, yeah.
We could certainly, as a council,
Yeah, for sure.
do budget funds that are not dependent on the grant to take care of that. That's an
Street
excellent
department has-
point.
Pet place we have now does not do anything but dogs, right?
That's correct. Yeah, most animal control doesn't
Even
pick up
if
any
you
big
get back to me on
dogs.
how many dogs they have picked up or anything?
I don't have that information in front of me.
I think-
All right, let's stick with the
Police
motions
report.
and then,
Should be in the police report.
yeah, okay, and then we can, if we need to talk about that, let's put it to our discussion. All right, so we are at motion 2019-16. Any other questions with regard to this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. A motion to approve resolution 2019-17 declaring 52 Baldwin Road located at lot number 39E 2007 as a blighted property for the purpose of applying for the CDBG funds for the demolition of vacant and dilapidated structures within the borough of Crafton.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to accept the grant award of $466,781.50 from Alcoasand's Grow Program for the South Grandview Avenue Storm Sewer Separation Project.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? Pardon?
Hooray.
Hooray, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to accept the grant award of $2 million from Alcoasand's Grow Program for the Crafton Boulevard Storm Sewer Separation Project.
So moved.
So moved.
Somebody
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Hooray.
Hooray.
Yeah, I think we may have laughed in the field in our historic grant get with 2019 alone, so.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, so now we are at the discussion portion of our meeting.
May I just,
Sure.
I checked it out because I could have swore I added the HHW on the website. It is all the way towards the bottom of
So maybe it
the
needs to be
waste
moved.
collection. So we could bump it up or maybe add some topic links or something
Or
like that.
something to explain what it is better, so people
Okay.
understand how wonderful it is as an asset to our community.
All right, absolutely.
6%.
It costs, we need to be using it. All right, so discussion items for this evening.
So first thing I wanted to bring up, if that's all right, is the concept of pest infestation along what is that, Crafton Boulevard, and then supporting houses underneath it on the hillside. Like,
I think-
what can be done there?
I think our public works has some things that they can put out to help with pest control up there.
Okay, so what we're talking about is the
Oh, they
the
get
pest
it,
infestation from having
Yeah,
Yeah.
taken down.
So-
I'm pretty sure they have,
Scientifically, we don't know that's where they came from, but it sure
However,
does
yeah.
make sense.
So typically,
somebody
when,
call you and complain about it.
we've had a
you
couple,
know, yeah.
we've had a couple mentions
Street
of it in the
department.
area,
I-
so, rats. So typically when this happens, what, the public works department will do is bait the sewers, because that tends to be where they end up one way or another, and that hopefully takes care of the problem. So we can, pass along to them, maybe in the greater Crafton Boulevard area to give it a shot. I do
Yeah.
believe they've done it up above already.
It seems like a great announcement that could go out with something that also promotes the service request form, because people don't know about it in the community. They just simply don't know. So it's a wonderful feature that we have. It is on our website.
Oh, which by the way, is now a main navigation item on the website, so you can get to it from
I think that we should be maybe announcing it in that way, the new navigation, easy to serve. And I would love to hear at each meeting an update as to what the numbers are around that. I would love to know for us to start tracking how many people are using this, and I'd like to see it grow.
So you're gonna make a note to put that in.
Yeah, I'm really
manager's
fortunate
report?
that not all of them end up in my email,
Well-
but they do go to the general
Right.
Crafton clerk.
So you can ask your administrative
I
staff
hear there are quite a few.
to make notes, counts, and
Yeah.
then you can include it in the manager's report going forward. So basically, it sounds as though what we're gonna do, you will discuss with Public Works Director, and something will be done about baiting the sewers, as you said,
Mhm.
and we will report back at the next meeting.
And skunks and raccoons, what are we doing with those?
Pardon?
Where do people report raccoons? The service request form?
Yeah, but I do, if there's one that's dead in the street, sometimes someone will
You know,
pick
the
it
neighbor
up,
just had to pay $300 to have two removed from her house. So we need the pet control to be
So
picking
the
up
dog,
all.
I don't think the dog catcher does that, do you?
No.
No, typically.
There has to be.
I'm not sure that there is anything that the borough can do about that.
I understand if they're in people's homes, that's unfortunately their domain.
Right.
However, when they're living in the sewers, should people be reporting that, and where?
Well, that would be the first time I got a report, I guess we could, yeah,
Now, there's a rabid one in ours, he's out in the afternoon.
that should.
Well, hold on,
definitely-
Hold on.
hold on, if you, did you just say rabid?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He's right.
That needs to be reported to the Allegheny County Health Department.
Yeah.
So,
And you.
Police.
That's.
If you got a rabbit and he's sick and you call the
Rabbit,
police, they'll come and get him. They got a,
rabid as in
they got a
Rabies.
thing that they grab it around the neck and take it in the woods somewhere.
RABID is what we're talking about.
Right.
Bury.
Yes, okay. And so what you're saying, Marcia, is you have a report of a rabid, RABID raccoon? And Philip is saying that that needs to be reported to the Allegheny Health
Allegheny
Department.
County Health Department, it's all tracks, it's a very important issue.
Okay, so then perhaps-
Outside of volunteering to check it out, I'm not sure I can identify the rabidness of a raccoon.
Yeah,
So-
out in the afternoon, and it's,
Right.
It's-
Oh, police,
I
daylight
guess my question is,
Yeah.
And
if it keeps
report it
coming
to-
up from
When they have
people,
babies.
Okay.
where do they report this?
So we now
Police
have
department.
information
A
about
rabbit
the
raccoon in your
Allegheny
yard, a rabbit.
Yeah, and then
County
we'll direct
Health
us to the right place.
Association, we can put that on the website, sure.
Oh, just right
Okay.
there. A good one.
Okay, and if we get a service request,
Sit down with Lee.
we can make that information available. Okay,
it's,
Philip,
We can go by here.
I'm gonna sort of piggyback off this conversation about the animals and wild animals, etc. We're gonna be going into the fall, winter months here. We have a large population of deer, it appears. And last week, on my trip to the Twin Tiers, which is southern New York and northern Pennsylvania, I was watching Spectrum News Channel, which is a cable broadcast, and they were discussing what was going on in Syracuse, New York, and they hired a USDA sniper to go in and call the herd. This has unfortunately been brought up before in our neighboring communities, and it's becoming abundantly clear to a lot of us that our herd is growing, and I just want to bring out, I believe that council needs to address the situation. It is inhumane to allow the herd to grow to an unsustainable size. It's not good for the animals, it's not good for the community. There have been reports of elevated Lyme's issues, and we're also hearing Lyme's can also be carried by rodents, larger animals, our pets. Therefore, I just think we need to start thinking about that this
I would
winter.
agree with that, I would agree with that. We're hearing more, and I think all of us have anecdotes. I watched a buck walk literally down the sidewalk on Crafton Boulevard, stop at the corner of Bradford, look around, and turn left and continue walking down the sidewalk in the middle of the day.
I saw two of them today, walking across the boulevard, and I was staring.
Okay, so,
Let me be absolutely clear that I am totally against hiring a sniper to come in and shoot them.
I know, I'm not saying that's the
We had this
solution.
exact
Okay,
same discussion
maybe-
almost a year ago.
Yeah, we had
We
this
did.
discussion before, but
Right.
May I
And I remember
suggest,
the same folks had the
Yeah,
same exact perspectives.
I'm not gonna
So-
tolerate that. I will
I would
not.
recommend we
Ever.
take a look at Mount Lebanon.
Do some,
Have that one for them.
Yes.
It's
Birth
a
control or
really good
something.
way to make sure that your public participation in meetings goes way up.
Yes.
So,
Well, the thing is it is an issue, it's not gotten any better, it's getting worse, and there has to be some, we're talking about
What do we-
raccoons,
what do
we're
we
talking about
propose?
rats,
How do we identify solutions? How do we
That's
identify
right.
2 or 3 solutions?
and that's what we have to look at, is what solutions are out there, and that's one that you heard about, and
I'm not
we need to
advocating
research.
for that particular means, but there has to be a way that we acknowledge what's going on, because, again, either they're going to die a uncomfortable death, in
Or not.
A bullet in the head's
disease,
okay,
well,
though?
we
Yeah,
don't have
Pardon?
hunting.
A bullet in the head's okay?
Unfortunately, we can't do
Better than
that.
Leave
starvation.
them alone, they're God's creatures,
they lived here before you did.
Right, but now
Uh,
there's a lot of
that's-
us and a lot of
that's
them,
just
so
me.
something has to be looked at.
Thank you very much.
So.
All right,
I-
it's out on the
Solutions,
table,
but
yes, it's out on the table.
not a sniper.
Okay.
No one is suggesting a sniper.
Well-
He suggested.
You're saying that is what other communities do. That's all we're just saying, it wasn't
All
suggested.
right,
Anyways,
All
back
right,
on
moving
task
on.
here, who is going to own identifying said solutions? Is that something you're gonna explore for us?
not in between now and presenting the budget, probably, just to be fully honest, but we can certainly
So
look at
can we
it.
find an intern or someone else who can? Because this is clear.
Mr. Valchek, I would suggest, many communities that have dealt with this issue have invited the Pennsylvania Game Commission to come to the community, listen to concerns and
That's a
offer
wonderful
suggestions.
solution.
okay.
Can we invite them to come?
Sure can.
And they will not recommend
Snipers.
rifle and sniper
That's
rifles in your
good.
community. I
That's
can
good.
guarantee that.
We'll leave that up in the.
Okay, so you're saying the,
Pennsylvania Game Commission.
okay,
Thank
VA
you
Game
very much.
Commission. All right,
That's why we like you.
I have something for the discussion.
okay. Are we done with rodents? And we have committed to calling the PA Game Commission and invite them into, and to have a community event for people who have concerns about this.
I have thought.
All right, so,
Mine is on the road paving. It's supposed to be finished by October 25th. it hasn't happened up on Crafton Boulevard, it hasn't happened on Hawthorne. But it was like almost guaranteed.
The ADA ramp construction is starting tomorrow.
I'm talking about the paving of the roads.
That's part of the whole same contract,
Do it
and so they
also.
do that first, and then,
On the corners?
Yeah.
Okay.
so,
Yep.
I might have.
so,
October's
to
on
be,
Friday.
okay,
Yes.
to be clear, your question is about the paving, where is it? And we have been guaranteed that they will be starting tomorrow, and they will be starting with the ADA ramps.
Okay.
Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
We gotta get it. ADA's gotta go first.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else for discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Valchef and I believe we had a commitment to council to discuss Church Hill and about path moving forward. I don't know if you wanted to discuss that at this meeting. I know that the manager, engineer, Mr. Valchef and I have been in a roundabout way communicating, from what I understand, that the center line of Church Hill can be moved. I don't know if you wanted to discuss that.
We're waiting for a
I
report
have
from the
not
engineer.
received a final
it.
additional.
He gave it
And
to
so the
Yeah.
engineer will be here at the next meeting.
He gave it to us last
So-
night.
So basically, you want to give a summary and then
I'm
we
just,
can have,
do you want to discuss that or let's wait till the next meeting?
I think we should wait till the next meeting when the engineer is here.
Right, I just want to make sure, we made a commitment to discuss that, I just want to make sure that we follow through on that
Right, the
commitment.
report's been made, so how do we go about submitting a motion now, or what do we need to do?
What we want to do is we want to have the discussion
Mhm,
in detail at the next meeting
okay,
when the engineer is here.
Yep.
And then we can take
motion,
appropriate action
perfect.
from there.
So we're done, our end of it's done, we brought back,
Okay?
right?
I believe that would be the case, and we are making a commitment for the next agenda,
Oh,
the next
Okay.
meeting agenda. Anything else? All right. Let's get some community announcements out there. We'll go to adjournment.
I had
No, we have
several meetings.
You have several more things, okay. Oh,
Um,
Alice was
sorry.
trying to divert you
Sorry.
so that I could
Alice did,
move
she
to
diverted me,
adjournment
and I
first.
jumped right back in. I'm very serious about this. I appreciate, and took to heart Lydia Herring's comments at the beginning of this, about the RFP, and I think that we would be well served by either of those two presentations that were made tonight. And I don't want to hamstring us in selecting and awarding and voting on this important item, but I have to just explain that I think that when you have a zoning issue, and you want to build a shed in your backyard, you go to zoning committee, and then the zoning committee makes a recommendation to council. And we're presented with the facts, but we don't have to review all those facts. My point is, I think that this really belongs in the domain of the planning commission, and that committee needs, in my opinion, be merged with the planning commission so that they have a voice in the review of this entire
Could you say that again? Which committee you're talking about, the zoning committee and the planning committee?
I was making a metaphor of our zoning committee to the zoning RFP, not the same zoning, that we addressed tonight, and the review process for it. I'm a little bit confused by how we're supposed to arrive at a decision between those two proposals. I don't see, for instance, in the original published RFP, I don't see anything that gives us specific and clear metrics as to what it is that defines a winner. I don't see the rationale, and I appreciate the notes, and Lydia's hard work was, I think, well intended here in providing those notes to us on the reviews, but I'm still left kind of confused, to say would be an understatement, as to why and how the selected two were selected, in fact. Right? There's no rubric, there's no evaluation criteria, there's no formal process for the recommendation.
Do you want to see an actual grid? Is that what you're asking for?
I think that for the people that put these proposals together, scoring is probably an appropriate role for us as the buyer to play in that process. I think that the people who volunteer to become part of the planning commission, this is probably the most important work and the most meaningful work of the planning commission. I think that they should be part of that review. They're the ones who are living and breathing with their own time what the planning commission, what the vision of the town should be.
So what exactly are you asking for, Eric?
So what I'm asking for is an explanation as to why in the world we had the RFP presenters, why was it them? And why did they present to us as opposed to the planning commission?
Because we are gonna be the ones who are gonna approve the money. And we're not saying, I mean, Lydia was here, the planning commission could have been here. We could ask them to come back to the planning commission, well, we have another person, Rich is here. So who
She
on the planning
represents the planning
commission?
I don't, that's what I'm asking.
Okay,
I don't
who on the
planning
planning commission is not here, Rich? There wasn't-
Kirsten Capella, is that one?
So,
Provided extensive feedback at the planning commission meeting
Right.
after we received the proposals,
Right.
So basically the Philip,
Did Lydia
Rich?
represent the planning
Lydia,
commission?
we have
Yes,
three,
she-
we have three
she's
out
added
of four
planning.
members
The way
here.
she should?
Yes, I
So
think, I believe
she's
so,
the
yes.
chairman and she was speaking for the planning commission?
Yes, she was. She had me read over her presentation. I think she did a good job.
Yeah, she did a
She
great job.
exactly.
I read all this today.
Right, she was exactly what I expected.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's asking for, though. He's not asking for who's representing what in what capacity, because that's not in question. What he's asking for is when someone is sitting there listening to four people, there is a system in place where they can check this, that, and this, and if they come down and they score a 10 or a 9 or an 8. And if those things get calculated and spit out into something that can then be as a data point. That's what.
Well, that isn't
Councilman Dodds
exactly the
is
way it was done, but if you guys would like to see something like that, I would bet that the selection committee could go back and create one for you. I mean, the thing that I have a question and that I personally am very concerned about is that what this really indicates to me personally, it feels like an affront to Lydia and to our manager,
Absolutely not.
excuse me, and to me. That it was, you know, that you're second guessing after the fact.
No.
There was an RFP with details, and each one of the presenters came in and spoke to the details and gave, you all have access to their complete presentations. And if you are so concerned about having a grid to make this decision because you do not trust the judgment of the people who are on this committee, then I suggest that the three of you sit down and you read through every single one of those
I did.
presentations and make your own grids. And you do your own scoring and see if it comes out different than the way that Lydia and RJ and I scored it.
I'm sorry that you feel emotional about this. This is not what is being said here.
I think it is.
This is,
I think it
this
is.
is a procedural question in how we treat requests for proposals and go through a purchasing process as a borough.
Could you speak to this?
These are professional services that are able to be voted and decided upon by council under any circumstances that they choose to impose or not impose. It's not a requirement to take the lowest bidder, et cetera.
Correct.
So if there was not a procedure or process set up at the point of the RFP, then you can't really, the horse is out of the barn at that point. You can't go back. Like, I would not suggest that we go back and rescore and submit that. Not at this point. If you're inquiring about setting up a process for future RFPs, et cetera, that's a different discussion. But for the purposes of the RFP that we heard presenters tonight, council just will need to make a decision.
I think I couched what I said pretty accurately when I said, this isn't to disrupt the work of Lydia and the group that's done the work on this. What I'm challenging here is for us to be a bona fide organization, having those sorts of processes in place are going to be, I think, really critical going forward in this borough, as this borough grows and looks to adopt things that are forward-thinking and progressive, as we heard tonight. I think having...
So you're not suggesting that we redo or trash all the work that
If
we've
I
done?
said to throw out the RFP, I would have led with that. I'm not saying to throw out the RFP. What I'm saying is we need to backfill, in my opinion, we need to backfill. This is something that Phil and I have spoken about. I think I feel very, very resolute in defining a process like this, because it seems like a lot of these decisions, watching from this side over the past 15 years, I've only been here for a couple of months, and I think Crafton's a wonderful place. But one of my biggest takeaways of watching any one of the borough governments that I've witnessed over the past 15 years is a lack of procedure. And I think this would help shape the community's view of the actions of this board. That's all. I think that a lot of this can be done if we have a process that's in place that's automated all the way through, so that a recommendation comes back and we know it's the best possible plan because we're the best people in town working on it.
I just want to add a quick point of information here, because I understand your point. Okay, how exactly are we evaluating here? There wasn't a rubric included or anything. The language that was in the RFP that we put out was taken directly from the example RFP published by Allegheny Places, which is part of the county's comprehensive plan that recommends a template for how to put these out, basically. So now, whether we like ultimately what Allegheny Places recommends, or if we think that it's not numerical enough, or if we need a scoring grid, that's a totally different discussion that certainly council, I think, should welcome, would welcome. But just so we know that there was an actual, basis for why
Clearly,
that
there's a lot of
language
work
was
that
chosen.
went into the preparation and the process that went into this. I'm not trying to derail or stop this. What I'm trying to say is going forward, I think having a little bit of programmatic structure around how we make reviews here, it does a lot in the shape of the confidence of the town into the transparency of the kinds of decisions, the why behind the decision that we're making. It also places into the people in this room as a body a better understanding of what to look for within the presentation.
So my question, and I hear what you're saying, and I'm sorry if I offended you, but it really did come
I
across.
don't get offended, this is not an
Good,
emotional thing
because
for me.
it really came across as though you were
Yeah, I got it that way too.
impugning the work that's been done
That's why I
here.
started with what I said and prepared my marks accordingly.
So, at any rate, you talk about it being totally automated. How do you automate different, completely different?
The planning commission comes to a recommendation for us, and they back it up with why, and we say yes. That's automating this body and it's putting the decision.
They've done that. Lydia's part of it, she's part of the planning.
I totally agree with that.
She was
So
part of the
which
committee.
one is being
Okay,
recommended
we're talking about going
and why?
forward.
Right,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying, the which one is recommended and why. And the explanation that we can always look back, well, we picked this one because it was. I find it very difficult. The notes, I think, are useful, but they don't really define why one over the other in a really articulate way. That's, I'm
Did you
sorry.
read this?
Well, and you
Every
read
word,
the,
every
and
word.
I'm sure he did, and you
What'd you get
read,
out of this? What'd you
And
get out
you-
of this presentation tonight?
I
They
think,
brought them in.
I think there are
They
two,
brought the
I think
top
there,
two.
I think there are two excellent opportunities here. I'm not trying to diminish that. I'm trying to look at the overall process here, not this.
okay.
Don't focus
so-
on the content, focus on the process, Fred.
All right, so then what we're saying is, we have no problems with where we are with this proposal. At our next meeting, we can
As
discuss
Steve
the
said, the
merits.
horse is out of the barn.
Yes,
Whether there's problems with it or not, don't matter at this point, because.
There are no legal problems in my opinion.
all right. So then
Pardon me.
we're really talking, what we're really talking about, just a moment, Philip, is that you're putting on the table that we, going forward, anytime we are looking to do a process where we're going to be hiring professional services and interviewing multiple companies, that some type of systematic grid be created for the purpose of scoring the interviews.
I didn't suggest grid, I don't think that's a terrible thing, but if you go back and you read section 5 of the RFP that was released in July, there's only 4 criteria there, and they leave me pretty vague as to what I'm supposed to be looking for in terms of the selection criteria, procedures, and proposals. That's what I'm talking about. I thought that when we got to this point, there would be something surfaced that was more tangible around, look at this one for this, look at this one for this, and this is what we should be deciding. That's all. I think that we could do more in terms of creating process around what to look for.
Okay, point taken.
They have done a great job, and they should not be in any way be accused of doing something incorrect here. What I'm saying is, we haven't created a framework to be a success.
Okay, so you're looking for a better framework that
For
includes
everything we do.
scoring criteria of some sort.
That's right.
Okay, point taken. Philip?
So, we need to foster an environment of trust, and I believe some of the dialogue that we've had.
He's the wrong guy to be talking about that.
Please,
Fred.
please, come on. We want to be done with this meeting. Philip?
So, I mean, part of the process is having all the stakeholders involved, and what we heard this evening from the 2 presenters is stakeholder involvement. You have 7 members of council, and you have a mayor, and you have our planning commission, and, you know, we started down this path, I think with good intentions, and I think we still have a lot of good intentions, and I think we all need to come to an agreement on what some of the process mechanisms will be on involvement in the creation of the guiding committees. Those things, I think, have to be decided by council as a whole. I don't believe it should be any individual council making that decision, especially with this regards, a committee to vet the RFPs for the zoning project. I think everybody had good intentions. I believe we need to foster an environment of trust and confidence, and that starts with the council president. That starts with every other member of council, because we're all here together making these decisions. And Colette, I think you did a wonderful job working with RJ and Lydia. But I really would have appreciated if you brought us into the process to help you, because we're all on the same team. And so in the future, I'd like to see more collaboration so we can drive consensus on what these metrics are, so we have a credible and effective framework to move forward.
So you think that, that in the process, all of council should have been invited to go through this interview process? Is that what you're saying?
I believe, Madam President.
You're upset that you weren't invited to participate in it, micromanage it?
Wait, all right, Fred,
That's all we've done is
you've asked the question, you can answer?
So, Madam President, I believe, yes, I believe council should have had input to the creation of the committee, and that's all I'm recommending is in future events.
That's up to the president.
Oh,
Right,
hold on.
and it's
It's not
up
up
to.
to sit here and just gonna be popular.
Stop, Fred.
Pardon me, let me finish this. The council president serves at the will of council as a whole. And that's all what has to be said on that. So with that being said, I'd like to work with Madam President to ensure that Madam President hears council as a whole.
You gotta try to stop micromanaging, is what you have to do.
So Philip, then I would
Oh, man, that's all it does.
suggest, here's what I would suggest. I would suggest that you review the resolutions that we have about the council president's prerogatives. And make any motions that you would like to make about changing those prerogatives. We were transparent.
Will you work with us and make those changes? Or,
If there are things that you do not like,
Can I interject here, please? This is going to go off the rails as we've seen.
no, I've had enough. I've heard enough.
No, this is, I don't care one way or the
Brad, no. This meeting is adjourned.
other. We take citizens' comments. We do
Okay.
citizens' comments. Coletta,
Look,
I'm gonna.
No more comment, that's it, let's move on.
let's move,
Ms. Smith has
Let's move
waited a
on.
very long time,
Yes,
so let her
yes.
take her
all right,
comment.
very good.
Please.
There were
Lisa?
other people before me, did they need to go?
No, everybody that's on here was presenting.
Oh,
okay.
Want me to read
So it's
the
you.
rest of these announcements real quick?
Well, let's let Lisa make her point, then you do your community announcement.
I don't really have a point, I just had a question, because I keep seeing it on, the different Facebook pages and talking to the parents at the schools. I'd like to know if anybody could tell us what's going on with the property over across from Giant Eagle. I'd
There's a
like
school
the
board meeting
truth.
tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Try to go to that because the school.
I have been going to that.
Yeah.
When we were there last week, last week, they told us they couldn't talk about it, they weren't allowed. I would just like to know, basically, I'd like to know a little bit about that property. Right now, it's listed as owned by the district of the Borough of the school district of the Borough of Crafton. I was always told that originally it belonged to the borough, and that it was deeded to the kids of Crafton to use as whatever, but the kids haven't been able to use it because because the school district has it.
Yeah, they locked the
Yeah,
gates.
go ahead.
Right, so I'd like to know what's
So
up with
the
that piece of
solicitor-
property and
the
what's happening
solicitor-
with it.
So
Will
that-
talk to us.
The property in question is divided into two parcels. There's a parcel at the rear where the football field is located, and a parcel in the front where the miniature golf is located. The school district, the Carlinton School District, owns the rear portion where the football field is located. The Borough of Crafton owns the front portion where the miniature golf is located. That's the ownership. There are no restrictions in the deeds as to usage for children, for sports, for athletics. The only restrictions in the deeds relate to the borough. If the borough is no longer using it for a municipal purpose, it reverts to the school district.
The front half?
The front
Yes, the
one.
front half.
Yes.
Okay, so the school district is allowed then in fact to sell that property to whomever they want?
Well, the school code has several different methods by which a property could be sold, and the district is able to do that, yes.
Okay, thank you. And can I ask one more question? Is your problem with the deer that you don't want them dead at all? Or is your problem with the deer you just don't want them killed and left behind? Because you could always set up a bow and arrow shoot down on the ball field down by the creek, but then you have to make a stipulation that you eat it. You don't kill an animal just for the sake of killing it, but if you're gonna eat it, if it's gonna be your dinner for the next 3 months, I have no problem
Can I
with.
Giant Eagle and buy a couple steaks?
So,
You don't have-
okay, we have a proposal for inviting the
You don't have to
PTA
shoot deer.
information. All right. Do you want to read the community
Yeah,
announcements?
sure. The 2020 census is seeking applicants for paid census taker positions. For more information, call 1-855-JOB-2020. Prize event for Medicare open enrollment, October 15, 2019, at 1 p.m. till 5 p.m. at the Crafton Library, hosted by State Representative Dan Deasy. He sure does a lot for us. He really does a lot of things. The library is teaming up with State Representative Dan Deasy and a prize or a praise?
A prize.
A prize to offer Medicare counseling. Do you have concerns about Medicare or insurance options? If so, sign up for this personalized session with a prize with Medicare open enrollment slated for October 15th through December 7th. The timing has never been better. Between the hours of 1 p.m. and 5 p.m., counselors will be on hand to help individuals understand how the Medicare system works and to assist them in selecting their most effective options. You must register in advance to set up your time slot by calling Representative Deasy's district office at 412-928-9514. Spooktacular at the mini golf, October 17th through the 19th, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Join us for a round of spooktacular mini golf, if you dare. Adults and children, both $3 per person per round. Sponsored by the Crafton Recreation Board and Bishop Canevin High School. Crafton Awake Poetry Series, October 20th, 2 p.m. at D&O Wine Cellars. That's up on East Crafton Avenue, right up from the main part of the central part of town there. East Crafton Avenue. Low Cost Animal Clinic, October 20th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the firehouse. Animal Clinic. Trick or treat will be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Halloween evening, and the house tour tickets are on sale starting November 1st. Contact the Borough Administrative Office for more information.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
No additional citizens?